put your hands together for our next panelist, Ian Manning. Very comfortable. Next is Alisher Ziyaev. Alisher. Next, Mahmoud Maghraby. Mahmoud. Yes. Raoul Zenon. Raoul, welcome Raoul. Now, Hammad Benjelloun. Hammad, there he is. A huge round of applause, guys, and the stage is all yours.
We're missing somebody, I think. Dylan. There we go. Yeah, not enough chairs. So that was seamless and super professional. So there we go. We're all good. So good morning, everybody. You're going to get used to this. You've got to clap at everything, got to cheer at everything. Otherwise it's going to be a very, very long day. So my name is Ian, as you saw behind Hammad's head there. I'm the Executive Director for the IAB in MENA, which is the Interactive Advertising Bureau. We're a non-profit organisation that's focused on supporting the growth of digital marketing and everything to do with digital marketing across the region. So that's what we do. We're a member-led organisation. Some of our members are here, some of you, I guess, are members, and that's kind of how we operate. I'll introduce you to the panel in a moment, but I thought maybe we flip this around. The panel would like to know who you are first. So we're going to go one, no, we're not going to go one by one. Who works for agencies or advertisers? We need to actually see what happens. So we need to really get that stretch up there, yeah? Okay, good. Retailers or retail media companies, networks, that kind of thing. Publishers? No publishers? Well, yeah, I guess, yeah, probably would be a publisher, yeah. What does everyone else do? Ad tech, yeah. In the wrong room? Too embarrassed to leave? No? Okay. And if I missed anybody, who did we not cover? What else is there? Brands. Advertisers or brands, are they not? Brands, do you advertise? Advertisers. So brands, okay, sorry, I called them advertisers. Brands? A lot more. Yeah, you want some programmatic, you want performance, brand, you know, you've got to separate, no, that's very old-fashioned thinking, very old-fashioned thinking. So, okay, great, thank you, that's really useful. I'm going to turn just briefly to the panel. They're going to quickly introduce themselves. We're not going to ask it by brand, advertiser, etc., but maybe we start with Alisher, because very quickly just say who you are, and kind of why are you here? What are you going to bring to this discussion?
Alisher, I work for Union Co. I'm currently building the retail media proposition. Here to discuss and learn and exchange the ideas with the colleagues, and obviously to share some insights about the industry, global benchmarks, and discuss how to real-time audience information and marketing to retailers.
Right, so Mahmoud Maghraby here. I work for Mars Snacking. I look after global emerging markets and Middle East and Africa. Here to learn more about what and how advertisers and brands can actually utilize these technologies. Most important purchase at the moment of purchase happens this way. So very excited to be here.
I'm Raoul Zenon, General Manager for MENA. It's an omnicom company. I'm here today to connect, to learn, but also to hear new ideas and how we can make the ecosystem and the digital economy better here in MENA.
Hello, Dylan Templefield, Head of Programmatic at Piper Media. I'm here for the coffee and also to learn and discuss how we can work together in the future across the commerce media landscape.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming here early. My name is Hammad Benjelloun. I'm the CEO and co-founder of AO. AO provides a solution that helps retail media owners, digital owners, agencies, brands leverage audience, use it to drive newer streams of revenue. And glad to have a conversation during the panel or right after with all of you guys.
Great, thanks very much, everybody. So let's get straight into it. So, Dylan, if I don't mind, if we start with you, I think we all know what retail media is or what commerce media is. I'm not going to embarrass you by asking because I suspect actually many people would say different things. Because I think we're at that stage in the development of retail media where it's not 100% defined what people mean by it. So Dylan, maybe we start with you. Like, how would you define retail media? How would you define offline retail media versus online retail media, in-store retail media? I keep going on and on, but yeah, how are we going to talk about it today?
Yeah, so great question, and a really good one for opening up. Offline retail media, I'm assuming is, or not assuming, it is going to be the purchasing of products within store. So it's offline. You're going into store, going to make a purchase, in a one-to-one manner with the store itself. Online media is you're using their online purchasing platforms. So you're going to site to purchase the products through their online media landscape, and that can be done through direct or through aggregators. And the way that we're moving from the retail media sector into, I guess, programmatic out of home as well, is supporting that moving from online to offline. So we're pushing audiences in real time in the digital out of home spaces where people are interacting at the point of purchase. So with that retail media space, you're targeting people, you're attracting audiences and customers to make a purchase of products in the out-of-home landscape programmatically. So you're serving a one-to-one message based on the profiles of people that are in that shopping arena. So if you saw out in the lobby area, we had the screens where it was picking up data from the sensors in the screen. So using those types of signals in real time, we can then start to have a really interesting one-to-one conversation with what would traditionally be a one-to-many way of communicating. So now we're flipping that to a more of a personalized conversation, which is really interesting for brands. When you're at point of purchase, you can then start to influence the way that people are shopping in real time in a programmatic environment. So yeah, very interesting.
Yeah, really clear, thanks. Alisher, as a retailer, obviously you own the real estate, I guess, in large degrees. You own customers, I suppose, to a large degree. How are you preparing for the shift towards the sort of data-centric approach to marketing?
I think for traditional retailers, it's really important to create the omnichannel environment on how to personalize and communicate to the shoppers throughout their journey. So from the moment of seeing the ad, even from the mall entrances to the purchases that they do over the counter, and even post-purchases to triggering the communication, perhaps with the offsite channels. So for the retailers, I think it's very important to understand the customer behavior and also to have the touch points across the journey, which are highly measured. Measurability is still a subject that everybody is trying to figure out. I think the upper funnel is more or less sorted. The conversions are also being sorted, but the mid funnel has a lot of questions. And I think the real-time audience segmentation in the specifics of UA, I believe, has a lot of relevancy because traditional retailers usually use the first-party data, be it a customer or a category data, to do targeted communication. But with the real-time audience segmentation, we can capture the tourist. As per Raoul's presentation, I think we have almost 2/3 of the people who are shopping in the malls are tourists. So we really don't know about their data or anything, but we can actually see where they see the ad, how they see the ad, and also to capture their attention. Obviously, it needs to scale because for a retailer, monetization and the revenue is one of the most important KPI. Obviously, the growth of the categories as well in our brand celebration.
Yeah, so that, obviously the technology to provide this real-time data or insights comes from you, right? So how does it work? What does it do?
So actually that's for us that was the fundamental question. If you want to drive conversion-oriented campaigns that account for most of the online retail media budget that are spent online, they're being spent there because they deliver performance that is through audience targeting in real time. it's a one-to-one relationship with the targeting, but still. And number two, they allow to measure conversion and allocate attribution. So if you want to talk about retail media, in-store or offline retail media in the same terms and put it to the same standard, those are some variables that need to be, I wouldn't say matched, but at least offer similar experience in getting. So that's the initial problem we tried to solve. And we solved it by taking it from what the buyers want to buy. When they want to buy audience targeting, they need it to be activated in real time. I have this screen right now. I need to show an ad that is targeted now, not based on the average of what happened over the last year or month or so. So that was the first one. The second one is what audience targeting features DSPs or programmatic buyers want to see. There are many solutions that appeared over the last few years that can detect age and gender, but coming from online programmatic ecosystem, age gender is not targeting enough. We want more. So for example, if we analyze through our technology, we can analyze that, for example, the buyers of like energy drinks have a very high correlation with the owners of smart wearables. So we can decide to activate a custom algorithm that detects people with smartwatches, for example, and then push an ad for energy. That's one. And we can do that because those algorithms are built on demand, they are custom. And the second one is because we have stuff I can talk about for people, but we have something that's similar to the cookie IG in the offline. So we call it body IG, but we manage to identify and track individuals across locations, even across countries. And that's how we build those clusters that make sense for programmatic buyers, and that can allow to both target in real time, meaning collecting data in real time, and displaying it in real time for each and every screen there. And three, it allows to actually measure the attribution and conversion performance. And for me, that's the key driver that will help the industry for the offline retail media to compete with the online.
It sounds to me like you've cracked the code, shall we say, between the planning inputs or the KPIs that you set out in the front and the measurement on the other side, which is one of the big challenges of sort of non-digital, actually even digital media generally. So I wonder from an agency point of view, Raoul, if you see it the same way, that from what I've just heard, do you see it the same way that this is like solving that problem that agencies are experiencing on an ongoing basis around getting from target through to measurement?
It is definitely a solution. It's definitely the missing piece of the puzzle in the consumer journey, and I think you outlined it pretty well. We have to create touch points, measurable touch points along the consumer journey. Now, one thing that I noticed actually from an agency perspective when we are dealing with clients on a day-to-day basis, everyone's super busy. Now, everyone here in the room is a tech specialist. We know the technology in and out. And at the end of the day, it is about to simplify their retail media orchestration so that they, at the end of the day, see, okay, this is the money that I'm going to spend, this is the return on ad spend, and that's the return on invest that I get. And from a flywheel perspective, what we actually achieve is to simplify retail media orchestration for e-commerce, but now having another layer when it comes to digital out of home or in-store. It's super, super relevant, but I think the key will, at the end of the day, to simplify and offer our solutions that we create to the clients, like in the most simplistic way, that the client doesn't have to kill himself about where do I spend the money, how do I measure it, and I think this is where what is now coming together. I think it's very powerful and beautiful at the same time.
I agree with you on this. And I was saying that we started from what the agencies and client people needs to buy. We come up with from digital out of home where with the segments and categorization
think, as if by magic, we actually have a client with us who can actually give his own perspective on whether that's true. That is what clients are looking for, and maybe give a little bit of a view of, I don't know how much you can talk about specifically, Mars, but your experience as a client in this space, how are you shifting your thinking to realize that actually offline media is as measurable as online media, and actually looking at that omni-channel experience that Alisher spoke of. But before you answer, I just want to say, you are going to get an opportunity to ask some questions on the panel. It would be remiss of me not to mention that. So give some thought to those questions. We don't have a lot of time, but we will be able to take 2 or 3 questions from the audience. So give some thought and we'll come to you in a second. So Mahmoud, if you don't mind just giving us a sense from a client perspective.
Thanks, Ian. I think you started very well by asking, we all know what's retail media. And I think that's a bit questionable, not an easy answer. We know retail media, and now we're redefining retail media internally as well. Because there's the static, there's the digital, and there's the attributed retail media. And I think that's what we're talking about today. It's moving away from the typical digital screen to a more advanced, much more measurable, and it's not in silos. And that requires a bit of a change from our side as well. Because whoever used to buy retail media was sales and customer marketing. Now, because the industry has evolved and it became much more advanced, it's not really an isolated channel anymore. It became part of a bigger ecosystem that builds brands. And that goes back into marketing and back into advertising. So I think that shift, and again to your point, it's to make it easier and simpler, is that we need to unify the language, we need to unify the measurement, and we need to make sure that it's definitely measured. I think we're all learning in this space, and I guess there's a lot of excellence in a lot of companies that knows how to get consumers and shoppers in store. But I think that we haven't advanced in our capabilities yet and our knowledge to be able to utilize whatever is available to the right state or the way we want it to be. But I think the isolated, it really moves the retail media from an isolated channel to an integrated channel. I think that's the most beautiful thing that we can ever get. And I think most importantly as well is where we measure everything. We don't want to get into the paralysis of over-measuring. Sometimes we get, we joke about it, there's a lot of data out there. It's how can it be meaningful as well? Do we target for the sake of targeting, or do we target for a specific challenge that we're going with? And I guess it's our collective responsibility to simplify the approach, the measurement, and not to overcomplicate the process.
Well, that's a really interesting point around overcomplicating the process, actually. And I think sometimes maybe we do actually. Does anyone else want to have a putting you on the spot a little bit?
I totally agree with you, but I won't get into it because in my past 5 years of experience, I've been dealing with a lot of advertisers, and I think majority of the communication that happens between the retailer and the advertisers are happening through the commercial and trade teams. So to get into the brand team, category team, it was a bit of a challenge at initial phases. However, when we present the retail media proposition to a trade person, he just wants to hit his target sales numbers. He wants to do a price promotion, and I don't care. He needs the visibility, be it online or offline. So I think, from a retailer's perspective, what retailers are currently building and doing is actually splitting or segmenting the assets across the ecosystem, be it online, on-site, off-site, or in-store, through segments of awareness. For instance, the store entrances. That would be the asset to actually tackle the awareness campaigns and have some measurability by tracking the footfall of the store entrance. Consideration campaigns would be through programmatic, common areas, highlighting the real-time audience segmentation. And conversions would be within the aisles where actually the customer is making a purchase. And then additional one is the impulse. Impulse could be at the checkout. So there's a lot of things that retailers need to do, and the biggest challenge, I would say, that connecting the tools to each other still is a big challenge. We, retailers, can have a solution to power each of these segments, but to ensure that these Franken tech talks to each other is a big question mark.
often comes down to the sort of structural issues, the historical issues around some of the companies and that change management process that's required internally to deliver that. I'm going to turn to the audience. So if anyone does have any questions or comments or you want to argue with the panel, by all means, now's your chance.
Just go through the
Tomatoes. He knows the price of them, that's why.
I have a question for Alisher. Alisher, I have a question for you. I really like the differentiation you have for the campaigns that can be offered in store with the awareness and conversion one. I'm sure you know online retail media campaigns are on-site and off-site. What if you could do the same in the offline, where you would use, for example, metro screens in malls as off-store campaigns, awareness campaigns for your clients, like your endemic brands, and you run the conversion campaigns within your stores.
This is
If you could track the audience, the segments.
This is awesome because the bigger the network, the better it is to bring the customer to the store, right?
Yeah.
So it all comes with a lot of partnerships. In the context of the retailer that I currently work, maybe it wouldn't be relevant because of the audiences that we have. We predominantly serve Emirati audiences. They all drive and they have big families. And a lot of footfall doesn't really come from the metro. A lot of footfall comes from the communities that we are
malls.
But if we talk about any other retailer, I think through partnerships, collaboration, and enlarging the network through partnerships and exchanging the leads with each other and upselling the assets, be it on-site, be it off-site, also, I think this adds a lot of value to all the parties. And especially for the customer, because the customer sees what he wants. He is navigated to from the public transport, he is navigated until he purchases, and predominantly if the targeting and segmentation is done in the right way, customers would not be annoyed by the messages irrelevant, being irrelevant. So they will be really happy to see the messages.
No, we can't hear you. We can't hear you. Yeah.
Hello. Am I audible? Okay, super. So I think it's a very interesting conversation which is happening over here, and with different touch points or different capabilities which is available from different tech partners right now in the market. We always say that the journey of the consumer is starting from, say, the awareness to the conversion. But the problem lies, especially for brands like us, is how do you look at the attribution? Because when Hammad was mentioning that, okay, I can give you a capability which is to put up a digital screen on a metro or on the malls. But there's another capability, another tech partner who's also giving me the same exposure right now to the same audience. Now, when the same consumer is exposed multiple times from different touch points, how do I really understand which touch point has to be given the attribution?
Yeah. Actually, it's a really great question because when you said about how to measure attribution, you have two important words here, measured and attribution. So today, when we're running out-of-home campaigns or programmatic out-of-home campaigns, one of the best ways we have today, which we've been having for the last few years, is to do measurements through mobile IDs, which is a sample of the audience that has been exposed at a certain time to creative or particular advertising campaign. There is some level of accuracy depending on the partner is, but it's a non-deterministic approach. Okay? So with our technology, it's sensor-based, visual sensors. So we don't estimate, we count. So even in the programmatic bid request on our SSP, when we send an audience multiplier for an impression, it's not an estimate, it's right now. So next play up in 1 second, this is the number of people you're going to have in front of the screen. So retailers, what we implement is that we have some sensors next to the checkout sections. So we have a body ID, which is a user from outside, and we can tie it to basket data and knowing that is also timestamp. So you get an exact not 100%, but not far. Because if you see like Boji IG 123 was in that metro station at that time, then he went to that other mall, and to the other mall 2 days later, then he went to the supermarket, and then he checked out. You're sure? It's like an online cookie, you know? Yeah. It's GDPR compliant, no face ID.
Okay, so thank you. Also supporting Raoul's question, retail media, as there are lots of definitions which I really like, which means a lot of innovation still around. One of the good things is to fight for the open web rather than the walled gardens, where the community-owned business, so do the advertisers, rely of their first-party data and fight against the walled gardens that are being developed. So on top of Raoul's question, my question to you, Mahmoud, how should a smart advertiser enable open web by enabling the power of retail media and also manage their walled garden budgets allocated to retail media?
I didn't fully understand the question.
Well, if the advertiser's budget is much more focused on only YouTube, let's say, or only social, while the retail media enables you deterministic data as well as multiple touch points, attribution, where the deterministic data owners, these local publishers provide to you, and you will do the same. So how should be the advertiser's strategy to support the retail media industry?
It heavily depends on the final objectives of the brand. And I try to simplify it. So you have, let's say, 3 strategies. You need to either grow, it's more on awareness. You need to defend your product portfolio. That means you need to ensure that your core messaging is at the point of sale, or you need to attack. And I think when it comes to attack, when you try to grow and win market share from other brands, I think the latest step on the conversion, consideration of conversion, this is where it really becomes crucial, where also like digital out of home or digital out of store or close to the point of sale becomes very, very relevant. Now, depending on the strategy that you have for your brand, you decide where to add the budget. You still have the classic funnel, awareness, consideration, purchase. Depending on the strategies, grow, defend, attack, you allocate the budget accordingly. And I think another layer is about the measurement. You're not going so far to spend money where you can't measure it, because then a brand manager categorically struggle how to justify the spend on a specific channel.
So thank you for the question, and if I understand you correctly, it's really to do with, there's kind of 2 parts to the industry. From an industry perspective, there's the walled gardens, as you refer to them, and then there's the rest of the ecosystem. And if I could simplify it even further, there's kind of social media, which accounts for about 50%, more than 50% of MENA ad spend goes behind social media. And that is all walled garden. I think one of the opportunities as an industry for retail media is that many retailers are local. And many retailers therefore have the opportunity to work with local publishers and with local publishing houses to develop partnerships that allow them to use cross-data, for example, share information, share data, share the tracking information that you referred to, etc. And I think actually it could be one of the things that saves the local publisher ecosystem. And I think it's an important thing for us as an industry to recognize. This is not an anti-social or anti-walled garden perspective at all, but I do think that there is an opportunity for local publishers and local retailers to work together using the ad tech that some of you provide to actually connect those dots together. And if I may do one plug for the IAB, this is something we're actually looking at and working on at the moment. And on the 14th of October, we are having a workshop, a bit like this really, to tackle that exact topic. So please, everyone's welcome. It's not just for IAB members, because it is important for us to have a sustainable ecosystem going forward. As much as we all love the social media platforms and some of those walled gardens that you referred to, if that was the only thing that the industry was about, there would be no industry. So thank you for the question, actually. I appreciate it.
I just have a story to share with you. I think we had the same pushback for a client. And I applied what Raoul just mentioned in a different way. Actually, you can use social and the measurement and audience targeting allows to help sell your digital out of home. Okay. And the way it works is very simple. You tell your client, I'm going to take 5% or 10% of this campaign. Okay. And I will run it on like awareness portion of the budget. And instead of running awareness campaign on Instagram that you retarget later on, you just use part of it on beautiful big screens. And those users who were exposed to the out-of-home ad, you retarget them on Instagram and you will see your conversion rate will drop. I mean, not conversion cost and the conversion rate will go higher. And by any metric you're using, it works.
Jim, thank you for the question, because this is a really good question. I think the value that the retailer has is its first-party data. So all the social platforms, YouTube of the world, yeah, they do have a lot of data on these people. When you even do the segmentation, you do targeted communication, it's not necessarily reaching particular retailers' customer. So here comes the offsite channels, where a lot of brands currently and a lot of retailers are trying to scale. And it comes with a lot of partnerships, be it taking the offsite to Metro, to CTV, to socials, TikToks, Instagram, Facebooks, and YouTubes, and etc. It's not yet sophisticated, but the beautiful part is that the brands would have access to the first-party data of the retailer and target them on any social platform, having the full attribution models to have all the metrics, ROAS, and even if you integrate with the loyalty data, it could give you even the shift of behavior from one to another brand. Maybe even the cost of customer acquisition in certain point of case. Because there's a frequency of the purchase of certain categories, and maybe the customers who used to buy X product are no longer buying because they're finding it cheaper in the marketplace. But through this advertising, through this promotion, maybe, or through this communication, they started to purchase it again, so we brought back the churn customer. So there's a lot of data involved. I think this is the space that I'm looking forward to learn myself a lot. And this is the space I think through collaboration can go big.
One question for brands. We haven't tackled actually the elephant in the room, which is investments, budgets, revenue, etc. So retail media, as you beginning said, is still pretty complex. Where to position retail media budgets, for example, or let's say the responsibility. Where do you see as a brand retail media budgets positioned the best? Is it more on the sales side? Is it more on the brand marketing side? Considering now that we have almost like a full funnel measurement in the ecosystem now.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it should be within the advertising and marketing establishment, because again the industry and the ecosystem are advanced a lot. It's not your typical static right shelf display, staying doing nothing but trying to hope for any kind of attention. Now it's a pretty advanced state of media that can truly fit into the rest of the ecosystem. For functions and within the advertising, from an advertising standpoint, within the marketing, that's where we're heading as a business, and we've done that quite often in markets where when the market and the ecosystem is advanced enough for us to plan programmatically, be able to infuse it with the data that we use, again, full funnel, because retail media can play a role in awareness, right? I mean, it's not only your conversion, it happens to be close to conversion, which is the best but you still can pay a lower number of awareness. You don't have to buy right then and there, but you can pay over and getting you aware of things. I think, and it helps a lot as well because for brands like ours, where we do have brand safety, advertising to kids is something that we don't really entertain and we try to avoid as much as possible. This is where we use these kind of formats and technologies to, whenever we detect there is a kid who failed, we avoid that. That wasn't available before, right? So these are the type of things that we definitely advertise, only when it stays within the advertising. When it saves, again, to your point, it becomes a target-driven platform, closing quotas and gaps, and rather than building brands and more sustainable.
Yeah, sure. So we have got time for one more question. So just let me know if you have one more question.
I don't have a question, but I just have a point of view to add to what Mahmoud has said and to answer what Raoul has asked. So the journey has actually shifted. So there's no clear answer in terms of where should this retail media sit. Because traditionally, if you look at it from a digital marketing standpoint, the KPIs for them was what? Driving reach, qualified reach, cost per qualified visits, that was a KPI. And it was never really tying back to the sales KPI or where you actually want to drive sales and drive market share or drive penetration, which is the sales priorities. What we have now been seeing that, okay, this KPIs have actually become more seamless between the digital team and the e-commerce or the retail media team. So, and then we can say that, okay, one team can be managing it with when they have the KPIs also aligned in their priorities or the goals which they have to establish. So there's no clear answer. The textbook answer would be look at the consumers. The consumer is the same, and you are talking to the same consumer from upper funnel to lower funnel. But truth being spoken, I think it's more about who is managing the budget and are they managing it with the right KPIs in their objectives. I mean, that's the way it has to be.
Thank you very much. Any final gone? Thank you very much for your attention this morning and for your engagement. Thank you for the questions. I thought it was certainly a fascinating conversation. Thank you very much to the panel for your contributions. And I guess you're available at the coffee break and maybe at lunch or whatever to take any further comments or discussion. So thanks very much and enjoy the rest of the day.